We have prospects on the way. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Wednesday, August 17th. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Scott White, and let's take a look at these prospects. The Mets plan to promote third base prospect Brett Baty on Wednesday, and in the minors, he was hitting .315, 19 homers, a .943 OPS, 22-year-old first-round pick from back in 2019. 26% rostered. Scott, what do you think of Brett Baty, and is he a must-add?
I wouldn't quite call him a must-add. I think I'm beyond the point, just the way a lot of the prospect call-ups have gone the last couple years. I don't know that most prospect promotions are drop everything and add him in all circumstance situations. So it's not anything against Beatty specifically when I say he's not quite must-add. I will say if you need help at third base, he's probably pretty close, and there's probably somebody in your league who needs help at third base since it's been such a thin position this year. Beatty's a pretty exciting prospect. I think with his performance this year, he's become a consensus top 25 prospect. You gave his numbers for the season. Over the last month or so, even better than that. He's begun to elevate the ball better. The plate discipline has gotten better, and not that it was bad to begin with. And he's begun to live up to his power projection while also hitting for average. So 22 years old, barely played at AAA, and that's a difficult leap, more or less straight from AA to the majors. But it could go well, or it could go poorly. It just kind of depends on whether or not you have a roster spot to play with and what your needs are, whether you take a chance on Brett Baty.
All right, well, let's take a look at another prospect. A's catcher Shea Langeliers was promoted on Tuesday. He was batting 6th in their lineup as the designated hitter. He went 1 for 4 with a double, a run scored, and 3 strikeouts in his debut. And this season in the minors, he was hitting .283 with 19 homers and an .876 OPS. He's 14% rostered, Shea Langeliers. Scott, where, if anywhere, are you looking to add him?
So I would say this is less exciting than the Beatty promotion. What's interesting, though, is the Beatty promotion was out of need. The Mets needed a third baseman. This is, what do the Athletics need? They already have Sean Murphy, a catcher. They're just kind of auditioning Shea Langeliers, I think, maybe for next year, maybe open up a trade possibility for Sean Murphy next year. But not as complete a package offensively, I would say, is Langeliers. He's shown good power in the minors. Could have trouble hitting for average, could have trouble with strikeouts. I think upside, I'd put it somewhere in the range of like a Travis d'Arnaud. So I don't see Shea Langeliers becoming like a stud in fantasy, but he could be useful. And certainly in 2 catcher leagues, the position is thin enough that you could go ahead and make a play for him. And 1 catcher leagues, I'd wait and see how he does. I'm skeptical he'll end up being somebody you want to use in that format rest of the season, but it's possible.
All right, let's take a look at a few waiver wire options. Justin Steele now has back-to-back quality starts, and over his last 8 outings, he has a 1.67 ERA, 50 strikeouts over 43 innings pitched, 49% rostered. Scott, who would you rather have, Justin Steele or Aaron Civale, who pitched very well on Monday?
I'd rather have Steele. He's been pitching well for longer. But in addition to having a 1.67 ERA in his past 8 starts, Steele has a 1.30 whip during that same stretch. So he still struggles with putting guys on base. I wouldn't say he's must roster or anything, but yeah, a little more promising than Aaron Civale, even though we saw that increased curveball usage for Civale last start that really seemed to help with the missing bats. Still, I'd rather have Steele at this point.
And an outfielder, well, I guess more of a designated hitter at this point, but Franmil Reyes went 2 for 5 with his 11th home run, and in 6 games with the Cubs, very small sample size, he's hitting .346, 2 homers. The strikeouts are down a little bit. He is hitting the ball very hard. Franmil Reyes, 49% rostered. Scott, should that roster percentage be higher? What do you think about him?
I don't know that it needs to be higher. We know he has a lot of power in there. And he could get hot, go on a run, make up a lot of ground for you in that home run category over the final, what are we looking at? 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the season. I would not think that it's likely he's going to make such an impact in, like a points league as much as he's striking out. It's the sort of situation where really, like, how invested you are in Franmil Reyes just depends on format, depends on need. Because if specifically you're in a roto league, you're looking to make up ground in home runs, then you might want to pick him up, cross your fingers that this is the start of such a hot streak, and Franmil Reyes could be a difference maker for you. But otherwise, I'm not really that interested at this point. There's just, there's a lot of downside to go with that upside.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.